What's going on there? All they can do to base their judgment of you on is your competence and energy in the moment.
Welcome to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast, where every week, Kirsten and Jeanne dive into the essential topics to fuel your business growth. From copywriting to course creation, mindset to video marketing, they've got you covered. Tune in for expert guest interviews on all things marketing and business, and learn how to work on your business, not just in it. So, get ready to unlock your business potential and take it to the next level.
Welcome, everyone, to our latest episode. We are absolutely thrilled to have our special guest. His name is Josh Elledge. His company is UpMyInfluence, and Josh is a U.S. Navy veteran, and he launched UpMyInfluence to help agencies, consultants, coaches, and other high-ticket B2B service providers skyrocket their sales. He's a keynote speaker. He writes a syndicated column to 1.1 million readers. He regularly appears on more than 75 TV stations across the country. So there's a very good chance that you've already seen him or heard him. But we're absolutely thrilled that he came to join us today. So welcome, Josh.
Hey, it's great to be here.
We're excited to have you. And we're having one of our favorite conversations, which is sales. And I know earlier when we spoke, before we hit record, you said there aren't many problems in business that increasing your sales won't solve. And I thought that was a brilliant statement and a great way to start this conversation off.
Yeah. It's the number one stress that SMB founders have. And in fact, according to the Federal Reserve, 2/3 of us say that financial challenges are a significant source of stress in our business. And it leads to burnout. It leads to people throwing in the towel. At the end of the day, hopefully, again, we want to have our offers dialed in. Hopefully, we're good at what we do. For most of us, if you're good at what you do, you have a decent offer. People have bought it before. Listen, your cash flow is going to come down to one factor. You just simply need to build more high-level relationships. That's what you need more than anything. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So again, if you're frustrated that your results are inconsistent, you got good months and you got not so good months, that's maddening. And agency owners, consultants, coaches, a lot of B2B service providers who specialize in these bigger ticket type transactions, that can be really frustrating. So I hope we can keep some folks in business and help them flourish and grow this year.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you talk about relationships. So the sleazy tactics are out, right? And relationship building is part of the process. So how do you see that playing a role with your clients?
Yeah, that's it, right? So we only work with folks that do account-based relationship-oriented sales. And what I mean by that is that if you're a broy salesperson that's just slamming numbers through and you're going for the jugular, you got all your closing tactics, and that's just the way you do business, I don't think you're going to really resonate with what I have to share. I appreciate that. That's not my style. Who we typically work with are people that don't mind. In fact, they want to, and they know that their best clients come when there's a bit of a friendship and a relationship build first. If you love getting organic business where, let's say you go to an event, you meet someone, it just feels very serendipitous, you get to talking and that you can help one another, and ultimately that leads to engagement. If you really enjoy that type of dynamic, that's what I can encourage in your weekly schedule on a regular basis by following what we're going to talk about today. And it's really rooted in essentially three foundations. Number one, you got to have a little bit of authority. We'll touch on that briefly. But number two, this is most critical, is you must lead in generosity and noble intent. You must have noble intent. You must exercise generosity. And again, we'll get into the go-giver a little bit. But then finally, number three is we're going to talk about how to enable that better than anything today. And honestly, there's nothing on the planet that comes close to the amount of business development or business high-level relationship building that you can do. That nothing comes close compared to what you can do with platform. And we'll talk about how to leverage platform to give you an unlimited number of high-level relationships with the people that you should be doing business with.
Excellent. Well, I'm excited about point number one.
Talking about authority. So tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that.
Yeah. Here's an analogy, right? So let's say you go into a VIP mixer or a speaker mixer. If you've ever spoken at a conference, you've likely been invited to a special side event. And those meetings are the best opportunity. Those meetings are those little mixers are absolutely historically where I used to get all of my best business. Why? Everyone's relaxed. No one's selling. We're all just talking, getting to know each other, just mingling about seeing what people are doing. But then inevitably there's going to be someone where you go, that sounds really like we should chat sometime to see if there's, I don't know if we should be doing something together, if I can help in any way. And listen, when you extend that type of invitation, everyone says yes. Okay, so that's in person, right? What's going on there? All they can do to base their judgment of you on is your competence and energy in the moment, right? That's what they're basing as they're sizing you up. Now, in person, that's great. Now, they're probably still going to do their due diligence. So again, we're going to have to focus on authority anyway. But authority simply is, how do we know that you're good at what you do and that you solve problems for people, just this guest or potential client? Okay. And that you need to communicate that trust somehow. So today, that's done on social media, that's done on your website, and that's done through other authority indicators. How might we know that you are good at what you do and that you create results? So listen, Rome wasn't built in a day. I don't expect you to obsess on this and then get 30, 60, 90 days from now, you finally have a better looking website, and then the sales are going to come flowing in. There's more to it than that. So what I'm going to suggest is authority should be something, or your authority indicators, or how you communicate yourself should be something that you work on every week. It's like you're creating video content, you embed it. You work on your branding, you work on your bio, you work on your presentation. Like all of this stuff, just keep at it week after week, just a little bit. Because listen, if you work on your authority, imagine if you had 10 times the authority in your industry than you currently did, and you communicated it as such, life's going to be a lot easier for you. It's going to feel like you have the lucky juice. So look, I'm not a branding expert, but what I can say is we all know what it's like when we go to a website and it looks like amateur hour, and social media and it looks like amateur hour. And we also all know what it looks like when we're like, go to a website, we're like, whoa, hey, wow. So I don't want anyone to feel bad, because again, those things just take time. But the more you inch toward that, the easier life will get. So start now, right? It's the Chinese proverb, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Get going on it.
Absolutely. I love that, because the concept of just improving it little by little, week after week, is so absurd in our society of quick fixes, right? So I like that you're talking about, because again, authority is built over time. And by constantly improving with the assets that you have and continuing to put great content out, is going to continue to make you show as the expert and the authority. Now, the next part I love, because you really focus a lot on the go-giver concept. So how does that play into how you really serve people?
Yeah. So here again, today, if we think about the way that we like to do business, look, I just ask a simple question to our friend that's listening right now or watching. Do you like being sold at? How does that feel when you're treated like a number or a piece of meat, and you can tell that the other person is just looking out because they want to make the sale? How does that feel to you? How does that affect the chances that you might engage with that person? It goes down significantly. The best thing you can do, and this is, listen, I don't expect you to have this thing fixed overnight either, but you got to work on your intent, okay? And the way I refer to it is noble intent. What do you want? If what you want is money, got to make this sale, and everyone is a prospect in your eyes, and everyone that comes into that prospect world is going to get one pitch and one possible outcome, and that's really what you're focused on, we're all going to know it. And you're going to be really frustrated, and you're going to feel like you're stuck in the hamster wheel. Why? Because you've got sales breath. We all smell it. You can't fake it. This is one thing you need to know, is that consumers have never been more skeptical. Consumers have never been more protective, because we don't like that feeling of being sold at. So you got to stop it. Instead, you should be aiming to be a friend who happens to be really good at what you do. And you are here to be of service in however that looks to your friends. Now, granted, you're not going to work for free, and high-level leaders are not going to ask you to work for free, but you need to have the energy of someone who is willing to just work in your friend's best interest in order to help them get what they want. Now, if you'll do that, then you'll earn trust more readily. And that's what's going to be the go juice for actual engagement. And you should know that if you presuppose what your guest wants and needs, and you assume 100% time it's your product, again, we're going to feel that and we're not going to like it. And you may be missing out on different opportunities that could have been far more valuable. And the only way to figure that out is if it's just relax, man. Don't go into pitch mode. Like anyone who did that in a mixer, everyone would start like making faces and warning each other. Oh, we have a me monster in the room, slapping business cards in people's hands and just trying to sell them on whatever their thing is. That's really annoying. Don't ever be that person. Honestly, leaders don't do that. That's an amateur play. So please don't do that. So again, noble intent means you're exercising and you're leading in generosity. Now, in the Go Giver, what that means is you always lead with give first, and you are open to whatever the outcome is. In other words, you're not giving just so you can get. So if you're going into it saying, I'm going to give this because I want this in exchange, that's just transactional. That's not generosity. People know where your heart is. And I'll just close with this on this concept. When you give into your industry, people are going to start to take notice, and the leaders and the people who care about the industry, especially your customers' world, are going to take notice to that. Okay, we'll get into this a little bit more when we talk about platform in terms of what will happen. But what I can say, I'll just sum it up this way. You will get to a point where you will not be able to outgive your industry. In other words, because the seeds that you planted back 6 months ago come to fruition, you have no idea in which ways those are going to happen, right? That's your job. Where you plant your seeds is not necessarily where you will reap your harvest.
Interesting. So for somebody who has this, they have noble intention, they have a go-giver's attitude, they know that they're going to give without expecting an outcome. And I love the fact that they will not have a sales breath.
Yes.
How do you suggest that they make these connections and start to build these relationships? How do they go about doing that consistently week after week so that they can start to see the relationships bloom and then the sales and results come from that?
Great. That's a great question. And it's one of the most popular ones that people go, I just need, okay, how do I get more people? Okay. We'll talk specifically about that when we talk about platform, but as a way of a segue into that, I want to ask you a question to our listener, a friend that's listening here. If your job over the next several months was to collect a bunch of butterflies, how would you do that? Unfortunately, far too many people are looking for immediate tactics that they can run out and desperately do today. And unfortunately, there are a lot of gurus that want to take your money, and you end up looking foolish as a result of it because you're doing stuff that you don't enjoy. You're doing stuff that reeks of desperation. It's not your fault. Someone just told you that's what you were supposed to do, right? If you love leadership consulting, that's what you want to do. But someone convinced you that in order to do what you really love, you have to do this other activity that you don't love, meaning, chasing people down or doing TikTok dances to drum up business, or again, slamming people in the DMs, or the kind of this spray and pray tactic where you just treat people like numbers. And then people email you back or DM you back saying, spammer, leave me alone. Like, that does not feel good. 10% of us, there's no way that's going to be sustainable for us. It just emotionally, energetically, spiritually, it feels off. So that's what then leads to burnout. Okay, I'm here to suggest that you don't need to ever do that ever again. All right, so let's go back to the butterfly analogy. If you wanted to collect a bunch of butterflies, what would you do? You're going to give yourself a few months to do this, right? Again, a guru will sell you a ridiculously looking oversized butterfly net and say, go running up and down the street and try to catch butterflies, because that's how it's done. And so you can do that. That is a way of doing it. You look ridiculous. And what happens tomorrow? What happens 6 months from now? You got to keep doing it. You've done nothing to build your network. You've done very little to build authentic relationships where you've invested into key leaders and centers of influence. Okay. You're just out there, again, just pitching and selling, and it's not an elevated energy. Okay. So you're competing with the lead gen amateurs when you do that stuff. Okay. So what's the solution? Obviously, you plant a what?
A buddleia
bush.
But yes, you plant a butterfly garden. It's not that difficult. All right. Now, are you going to get butterflies on day one? Probably not. It's going to take a few days for them to find you. But eventually, what? They will. You got to have the patience. You got to do the right thing. Trust people who've been there, done that. We've worked with somewhere between 200 and 250 clients. We'll get into platform. We've implemented these strategies. I work with a lot of VPs of sales. Our clients are all 6 to 8 figure business leaders. They are all selling products generally that have ALVs north of $20,000. These are higher value engagements. You can't sell at those people. Like maybe you could get away with selling $29 things. Yeah, go do the typical ClickFunnels kind of hypnotic sales language stuff. That's not my area of expertise, but that's not going to work for decision makers. We know exactly what you're doing. And we generally don't like to be, again, higher level leaders don't like to be just thrown in with the masses. That they've evolved a little bit beyond that.
Yeah, and not nickel and dime with the upsell.
That is absurd stuff. In fact, like, for example, like when I give away stuff, again, that's so transactional, and that ensures that a high-level leader is not going to waste their time with you. They're not going to give you $7 for your little tripwire thing. They're like, listen, either we can talk and figure out if this is going to be a good pairing or not. They're not interested in your ascension model funnel. That's silly stuff. We all know what that is. I'm not saying it doesn't work for lower ticket folks, but these are two different personas, right? And if you really do some customer avatar work, you will find that these are completely different people and should not be sold at the same way. So stop trying to shove your high ticket folks down a low ticket path. High level people expect express lanes that are going to be respectful of their time and attention. They don't have time to kick around or experiment. They're not going to, again, they're just going to be very protective of their time. And it begins, you brought up a good point, right? About these setting up gateways and all this friction in engaging with you is just, it's weird, right? For example, if you want to come learn about what I'm talking about, you want a little bit more longer form version of this, where I can go through a little bit more data and I source everything and I share a lot of stories about VPs of sales that have implemented this, and here's what their results were. A lot of founders that have implemented this, there's what the results are. I've got an attraction mastery workshop on my website. I don't need your email address. I don't need upfront. I don't need this. I trust you. You're an adult. If you like what cool, let's chat. To imagine that, again, I'll share with you some information and I'll share with you a free video. But first you have to give me your email address. I just don't do that. That just, to me, it shows a lack of trust in people, and it shows a lack of confidence in your ability to win hearts and minds. Start opening the gates for folks. That's just my POV. Some people would argue against that.
Can I ask a question about that though? Because I think you are going to have a lot of people that are going to push back, because it's all about build your email list. You've got to own the list. You don't know what platforms are going to go away, right? So that has been bammed into everyone's head.
Yes.
And it's interesting because Jeanne and I were having a conversation the other day about, we are talking with people in conversations that will often give them resources, but we don't ask for their email address. So that
shows high trust.
We've got this guide. Would you like to check it out? Here it is. And when we don't need your email address. So I think I love that concept. And I think it is that trust in that relationship. Yeah. I think it also puts you at a much higher level.
Absolutely.
Of, hey, I'm going to give this to you. If it resonates with you and you think that what we're doing could help you, here, book a call with me. So I love that. So what kind of led you to do that, Josh? Because I think it's it's so awesome.
Yeah, one word, empathy. So if we are empathic to what's going on in our guest's life, right? If we're truly trying to put ourselves in their position, do we want them to feel like they are always in control? And they are. And the minute that we start to box them in and take away that control, people don't like that. And they back out of it, right? We always want to feel like we've got the ability to decide what happens next. And so that's where you have to create that world. Now, when you watch, and it's not a sale, I just teach you this stuff. And at the very end of the presentation, you know what my sales pitch is? Like, hey, if this was valuable and you want to grab 30 minutes, cool. My schedule's below. I hope this was super valuable. And I hope that it inspires you to make a lot more sales and get consistency and predictability on your calendar. That's it. Yeah. So when people hear that, and then they have the ability to say yes, right? I don't have to push or force the hand, because we all know what it's like when we're being manipulated or sold at. So when you do that, again, people feel like they're losing their agency. Don't do that to people. Be the butterfly, or be the butterfly bush instead. What I will do as well during the presentation, I'll say, listen, we've launched over 200 podcasts with UpMyInfluence. If you are interested in podcast guest opportunities, I send an email once a week. If you're interested in that, and again, we've got, I think, about 7,000 people on that email list. I get a better than 40% open rate on that email. It's because I'm just like, listen, I will deliver to you value once a week via this email. You're welcome to take a peek at it. And hopefully I find some great opportunities for you. I don't sell really in that email. Like I'll just make announcements about stuff occasionally, but mostly it's, here are 8 new podcasts that are looking for guests right now. So that is valuable enough that people say, I want that. And I justify the ongoing relationship with increased value, not just key insights that they can learn on social media, but why does email make sense for me to deliver that content? Otherwise, people say, nah, giving you my email address is currency. I don't know that I want to give you my currency, because again, I haven't tried. People are just worried about being spammed, and people worried about being abused in their email account. So that, again, you're just reducing risk here for folks when you show an open hand and you, again, just continue to lead in generosity.
Perfect. So what platforms do you feel like people should be on to start building relationships?
Okay, so yeah, so this platform is a kind of an agnostic term. Platform could be a lot of different things. Okay, and I'll share with you how we do this. Okay, but I'll back up the train a little bit. For my other company, Savings Angel, which I launched back in 2007, I had no money for advertising. But what I was able to do is somehow I convinced a radio station to let me do a 3-minute segment about how consumers can get free groceries. And I share and explain exactly how they can get like free box of Cheerios or something like that. That was a compelling enough offer that the radio station said, okay, hot shot, if you think you're, and so they let me come on, and I did a radio segment, and I gave away lots of value. And because of that, I got customers. And back then that was amazing, because I didn't even have money to pay my heating bill. And thankfully I was able to give away so much value that people respected that. They liked that. Now, platform today, specifically in the B2B realm for folks that are doing account-based sale, listen, there's so many things that you could do together, but here's the underlying dynamic that I want to illustrate. Most people use platform, speaking, podcasting, YouTube, social media, vertical videos, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? You know where they're shining the spotlight? On themselves. That's what 90% of people do. Here is something amazing that I learned from my time as a journalist. And that is, I would get journalist credentials and badges to go to these events all the time. And especially if they were an entrepreneurial event, and something like the Inc. 5000 events I've gone to as a journalist, a lot of their events, other social media marketing worlds. And I've also spoke at podcasting conferences, Tony Robbins' organization, like I've spoke for. And when you go to these events and you've got credentials, people treat you differently. People are always like, oh, hey, what's going on there, right? Why? What's going on? It's because founders and growth directors have a mandate to get visibility, to tell their story, to attract more audiences. So if you have platform and you shine your spotlight on other people, it automatically puts you in a different category. People want to be around you. high level people want to be around you because of what you represent. Now, you're there to do a job. You have to be good at this. You have to be willing to, again, share your stage with other people and make them the star of the show. Okay. Again, this could look like LinkedIn Lives. This could look like vertical videos where you, again, point and celebrate someone else. But when people see you do this, it makes you very attractive for that type of person. So for us at UpMyInfluence, there are a lot of benefits to podcasting that nothing else can even remotely touch. We've done a lot of experimenting. I've done over 2,000 episodes of my podcast. We've launched over 200 podcasts. We've experimented with lots of other stuff out there. There are so many baked in benefits to the podcast ecosystem that makes this insanely easy for about anybody to do today. If you've dabbled and tried to start a podcast in the past and it was too much work, yeah, I believe you. Today's tools make it so easy. Zoom and just a conversation with someone else where someone else is the star of the show. That's not the rocket science to what we're doing, but that's the fundamentals of what we're doing. But what you're doing is you are earning proximity together. You are earning time together with somebody. And when you earn time together with someone, let's say that this is what happened with UpMyInfluence. There would be no UpMyInfluence if I didn't do this. Okay. Savings Angel, my other company, was doing well. I started serving pro bono in our local startup community, working with women-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned businesses, doing a lot of serving on boards, pro bono mentoring, workshops, that sort of thing. Anything I could do to help that next generation of business owners figure out how to get attention, how to get media, that sort of thing. And in that process, I started to get to know my other mentors. And one of them wanted to hire me. And I thought, oh, okay, let me get back to you. Because I'd never done that before. Savings Angel, we had a membership-based website, but so I called one of my friends. He said, yeah, go ahead. And so anyway, that proximity together just gets you in the right rooms. So here's another analogy of this. And I'm going to use this, I'll refer back to this a little bit later. Okay, imagine that you are on a panel at a conference, right? And you're in service to an audience. It's a cool honor. It's great to provide value in that way. What happens during that process? You're going to get to know the moderator. You're going to get to know some people with the event. You're going to get to know your fellow panelists. You are building individual relationships in that moment. And what I would argue is that those individual relationships can oftentimes be more valuable immediately than your exposure to that crowd. Because again, you're building relationships. So last thought on this is that if you were to be in that service and you get to know your other panelists, and once it's all done, if you were to lean over to them and say, Kirsten, I really liked what you had to share. Listen, let's grab coffee or something, or let's grab a call sometime. I'd love to see if there's something we should be doing together, or if I can help in any way. Every leader on the planet would say yes if you've earned just a little bit of trust and relationship in there. They will all say yes. And now you get the time together to figure out what you should do together.
Josh, it's so funny you bring that up. I was on a panel yesterday for a summit, and it's exactly what you're talking about. Before it even ended, I'd already booked a couple coffee chats with people. I've got a list of people to follow up with today because they were all brilliant. They were all experts in their field. I'm going to reach out to them, not to try to sell them something, but to find out more about what they do and to build a relationship and find out if there is a collaboration. And we host 2 podcasts. And I think you and I met because I was actually a guest on your podcast. But we have found that just connecting with people and continuing the conversation ends up helping us in so many ways. And I think, one, obviously clients, but 2, we also find resources for our other clients or our friends and family who need things, right? I've had so many people say, hey, I'm looking for XYZ. And oh my gosh, I know the perfect person for you. So as we're building these relationships, whether again, it's a joint venture or a collaboration, or just someone that you have in your back pocket to refer out to someone who needs their product or service that you really trust to refer out. I think that's huge. And I love that you're focusing so much on the relationship of spotlighting other people and continuing the connection and growing that relationship.
Yeah. Listen, it's that dynamic of that 1 + 1 = 11. Leaders usually have a lot of things going on. So even if you get to talking and they say, it doesn't look like there's anything immediately, that we need to do together or whatever, they're not in market or whatever, that's okay. Because we've all, if you've been around for any length of time, have had those surprise introductions. Someone ends up on your calendar. You're like, who's this? And they're like, so-and-so told me about you. And I'm like, so-and-so. And you realize that's someone I talked to a year ago. Again,
Right.
your goal, stop pitching at everyone and instead strive to be, again, your goal of conversion for the first call especially should be to evoke in your friend the response, oh, good, now I have a friend who does what you do. If that allows you to relax and step into the right energy. Podcasts do have a lot of advantages baked in, and one of the biggest ones is supply and demand. I can tell you this right now is that for every decent interview show that's out there, there are thousands of guests because most podcasters don't stick with it. They throw in the towel before they hit episode 20. The majority never make it to episode 20. And I'm talking about independent podcasters doing interview stuff. They don't stick with it. Why? Because they get going. They're like, wait a minute, I just did all this work and I got 62 listens. Nah, I'm not going to keep doing that. That's not a good use of my time. So they stop when they're in their teens. What they don't realize is that if they just did 16 interviews, but they saw their guest as a means to the end so that they could build their own audience, that, my friends, is like tripping over huge stacks of cash to pick up pennies. And when, again, the person in front of you, you have a meaningful relationship right there. You need to explore how you can help one another. And listen, for the Thoughtful Entrepreneur, I've done over 2,000 interviews. And again, we'll talk about how we can make this a little bit more accessible for anybody. But that's nearly 100% of my business has come through my podcast, and very little has come through from a listener. I have people who listen to the podcast, but I can't think of the last time someone said, yes, I'm a regular listener, and now I decided to reach out and book a call with you. I don't get that very often. That's really rare. So what I'm telling you is at 2,000 episodes in, if my only play were to try to get value from listeners, I would not be doing a podcast, even at 2,000 episodes, even with the size audience we have. I've got over 100,000 on social. And we repurpose it. I would drop the podcast today if that's the only value that I got. Where do I get all my value? It's the relationships that I build behind the scenes in my Whisper network. It's not showy, it's not flashy, but that is where the best business gets done. And on the golf course, in the VIP lounge, when everyone's relaxed and we're just getting to know each other. So those of you who feel a lot of pressure to do TikTok dances and constantly be low-key selling to your friends and family on Facebook, there's a better way. You don't have to do that stuff. Just have quiet conversations like the adults do behind the scenes. Yeah, and by the way, forgive me if the way that I'm delivering this is a little ouchy at times. Understand that this is just my POV, my point of view. I'm an expert in what I'm an expert in, and I'm wildly incompetent in most other things.
We know you're a break dancer and you're doing all kinds of TikTok videos.
Watch me do the kangaroo. Here we go.
Josh, we always enjoy having conversations with you. We love your energy. We love your passion. And we know that you're an expert at what you do. And so if people want to reach out to you, I know that you said they can go to your website and you've got a masterclass on there. Why don't you give them your domain name and any other resources you'd like to provide today? Yeah,
sure. Certainly you could just Google my name and you'll learn all about me, my background, and see the kind of work that we do. Or again, just here, open up your phone or write this down. Here's the web address. It's www.UpMyInfluence.com. Now, when you go to that website, there's one of two things you're probably going to be interested in. Number one is that if you're successful in business, you're B2B, I'm always looking for podcast guests. As I mentioned, we have over 100,000 in our audience. I make this show about you, not me. I would love to share your story and share your success with my audience. It's a good audience. They're business adults. Go click on that and apply to be a guest. I'd love to have you. We do a daily show. That's number one. Number two is click on the button that says Attraction Mastery Workshop or watch the video. Click that. I don't need your email address. I will never know you're there. But just go ahead and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take about an hour and 15 minutes. You can watch me at the pace I already speak, but you can watch me on 1.5x speed if you want, if you dare, but you don't even have to watch me. If you want, you got some multitasking time, some dog walking time, some driving time or whatever, go pull it up and listen to it in the background. We host it right there for you to click and play, but it's my Attraction Mastery Workshop. And I'm going to go through the state of the lead gen industry right now. And I'm going to go through what's working, what's not working, and what to do so that you can keep consistent, predictable introductions on your schedule at all times, how to get 100% inbound in the next 6 months. And I legitimately mean that's exactly what our clients do, right? Now, if you've got some budget, and this is entirely up to you, and your ALV, or like when you do an engagement with your client, is pretty valuable. Listen, I'm always open to opportunities. Let me know what you're doing. I may have some connections. I don't know if there's an opportunity for us, but happy to explore. Maybe I might have some great resources or an introduction or something else, but you'll see after you watch the video or whatever, like you'll see opportunities where you can grab some time with me. Love to hear from you.
Awesome, Josh. We really appreciate you being here today. It's been amazing. And Jeanne, I know you got something to say to Josh.
I was just going to say, it's always a pleasure to see you, Josh. Kirsten said your energy is amazing. And I know our audience will get a ton of value from all of your expertise. So thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, ladies. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Six Figure Business Mastery Podcast. If you enjoyed listening to this episode and you are ready to leverage video marketing on all online platforms, or maybe even start your own video podcast, then you need to check out the Done For You and Done With You program at themarketingvaadvantage.com and take your business to the next level.